This is Problems and Solutions, Part 2. Negative individuals are continuously choosing to guide many people into a destructive course of events, and unless some form of change comes about to reverse this process, many of them will become and use this negative structure, and will also bring about a negative destruction of our entire planet due to the destructive nature of this negative symphony. Granted, one can argue this point, but in the end, our choices gives us the ability to argue from a truthful standpoint or a fictional standpoint. But at this time, it will not lie on this matter. We as human beings have the power over ourselves, over all animals, and over everything on this planet, including our destiny. This world can only be maintained with balance or the total power of positiveness. But this planet cannot be maintained with the control of negatives, because by the very nature of negatives, it is to destroy. If negative energy grows, it does so by drawing up all other energy, and it's surrounded within itself. Therefore, if this happens, positive energy will stop projecting in this direction, because negative energy does not produce energy. It can only sustain itself with the consumption of other energy. Therefore, destruction. You cannot use more energy than is given. If so, you will use up all the energy, therefore it will collapse in on itself. Keeping positive energy alive is important to our well-being and our survival, because negative energy cannot live on its own energy and needs the contribution of other energy in order to survive. So problems and negatives are only half of the equation, other than the solutions and the positive, in order to find balance throughout life. People can choose to conceal solving problems as a choice, but do not be fooled. There are solutions. You need to know the problem, and then you will find the solution. And then once you have the problem in your sights, then you will be able to find the solution. So in order to find a solution, you need to know, again, the exact problem. Be wise and ask for the solution. Otherwise, you're going to stay in the problem, or finding solutions that are not positive, but solutions that are problems only lead to more problems. There are those also who are aware of this fact and will contradict a solution by asking you for your solution to solve a problem. But then they will also throw a monkey wrench into the works, as to say, hey, you see, your solution don't work. But that's only because if you investigate and look into the matter, you will find out that there are distinct individuals who are creating a problem in your solution to say it doesn't work. But it does work. And the reason it didn't work is because you are throwing a monkey wrench into the works and destroying the solution in order to say, see, it doesn't work. Or coming up with a solution yourself, or the negative person comes up with a solution that is not really a solution, but is creating another problem that, again, favors them. So the problems always favor them, and the solutions are against them. And the solutions are for you, and the problems are against them. So it's counterproductive towards them. That's why they want to keep it in such a way that they want all these other people to suffer, and the main objective is to covet whatever is for the masses. They will then just give the masses very little, and then you have the have and the have-nots. You need the same goals between people to achieve an objective for an overall solution. No matter how good a solution is, negative people won't work and cooperate fully in a positive manner to solve the problems, because a positive is not a negative, and a negative is not a positive. That does not mean you cannot find a solution. You can still obviously find a solution, but you may want to exclude negative individuals, and likewise, the negative individuals may be working in contrast to you just for wanting a happy life. There may be times that you may seek advice for a problem, and be very careful with professional people, because some of them may be negative and advise you with incorrect, misleading, and bad advice. Even doctors and lawyers or mechanics and repairmen and politicians, teachers. So you may want to study a problem on your own in order to find out how it works, so you yourself can come up with a solution and find something you trust and that would really help you. A problem behavior versus a problem person. If a person robs a bank and goes through rehabilitation and never robs again, that problem was the behavior and not the person. If a person robs a bank and goes through rehabilitation and then continues to rob banks, then that person unknowingly chooses and becomes that problem. And against that person, unless that person's behavior stops of doing what is recommended for him not to do in order to live a peaceful and healthy and happy society. A problem is a behavior or a situation that you don't want. So if a person is perceived as a problem, the problem can be subjective to the side of a positive or negative individuals, and they use forms of tricks in order to deceive you or to outbelieve you into your choice of finding a solution. You may also note that negative people never have a clear outline of positive and negative because of their hypocrisy. If you are targeted by negative people and problems that begin to come to you at a highest degree than previously, when there were none, you can choose to be greater than the problem by finding a solution and staying in the solution mode, choosing not to become discouraged, not to give up nor give in, but being calm and patient within yourself and navigating your life with what you have and what you can do, and also, again, using your imagination, the good imagination, and wanting benefits for you and others, as opposed to just being selfish. Understand that different situations require different solutions because of the different circumstances that may apply. Note what may be a solution for one person may be a problem for another person due to the differences in beliefs and objectives. When problems happen, you can either do nothing or something. Realize this in itself can be a problem. So in a way, sometimes you can make a situation better by doing nothing, while other times using the same solution may be worse. What you choose as a solution can be found by deductive reasoning, and that is found by who you are. There may be times when a problem can become worse before it can even become better. When you have a problem, do not give in to fear or become upset. When it's only a simple problem to be solved, getting upset when you have a problem is like getting angry because the earth is round. It is useless Instead, devote your mind and time and energy to a solution, and with that solution, you put it into a schedule, and with that schedule, you move on. And then when other problems arise, you stay functional, you stay motivated, and not become defeated by one problem or a multitude of problems at the same time. There is a solution to any problems, and all that needs to be done is to solve the problem. Therefore, it becomes a matter of procedure of being functional as opposed to being dysfunctional. Become a solution-oriented person, then you can find a solution from the source of being in your positive imagination and energy, and even someone else's imagination and knowledge you can also use if they are also positive as well. Then solve the problem, put it in a schedule, make it a matter of procedure, and move on. Therefore, your mind is clean and you stay motivated. Choose not to make your problems bigger than they actually are, and do not overlook them and make them smaller than they are, but deal with them appropriately and remembering to prioritize them as well. And you put them in order as to what's the main problem, what's the little problem, what's required first, and whatever isn't that important, imperative right now, you just postpone them at a later time by scheduling them. So it is problems and then a solution, and then you move on. Do not become a negative, repetitive thinker. We can use solutions to common problems every day in negative thoughts and interactions. Life itself is often a repetitive cycle, such as your hair grows and you cut it, or your nail grows and you cut it, or the wheat grows and you harvest it. This is over and over process helps us to learn and grow as we mature, and we in turn can teach that to our children, and then our society improves. When problems come to pass, you will find solutions to them, and if you are a positive individual, you can stay on this positive track in which you become wiser and consequently smarter and stronger in your belief system and your entire structure. Every day as you gain this knowledge and understanding, you will start outgrowing the ignorance of negatives. This reminds me of a television commercial I seen long ago in which a regal Indian gentleman is standing on the top of a mountain with tears in his eyes as he overlooks the plains that he once knew, and he weeps because he remembered a time when the view he looked upon now, in which there's polluted air and polluted water and ramshack building, was once this rich, fertile, beautiful land, a plethora of wild animals and caring people to tend to this land no longer. And I'm talking about that individual tribes, because at that time still there was other tribes fighting other tribes, but I'm referring to the problem of pollution and how we structured our society. Such is also the life of positive people. When they become older and wiser to the real truth, they begin to outgrow all these negatives, all this ignorance, as though you are moving ahead of others and everyone's being left behind in ignorance. Then you can see it and know what it is, and say what it is for what it is. Once you are on this positive track, you will then become wiser through your understanding of problems and solution. You will then see clearly enough to understand and not be confused, to disseminate the difference between truth and lies, and be able to formulate subjects down to its lowest denominator. Being honest with who you are and not trying to be someone you're not gives you the credibility, as opposed to someone who's trying to be someone or who he or she is not. mastering your life, your beliefs, and about your pain, your suffering. And this is done through your conditioning and what you have been taught as a child. And it can either stay in your belief system or be eradicated through a higher form of learning and believing with your entire being, as opposed just to be a passive believer, but to believe and be and have these strong convictions about exactly what you believe and why you believe, because they are a reality, as opposed to people who are just carelessly going through life, as opposed to saying that there's no order to it, and that's only because they have a choice, an imagination, a belief system, an energy system in which they choose that confusion as opposed to clarity. And again, not becoming overwhelmed in any such problems, regardless of the problems and the levels of the problems, and to stay positive in the midst of this darkness. And it most definitely will help you navigate through problems, and also the air around you will also help in that solution positive mode in which people have been healed from many sicknesses and circumstances due to their navigating through life in such a way that is not destructive but creative and strengthening. Be wary of these negative individuals. They create the same problems, so you will react in the same negative way. This is called negative redundant thoughts. And their solutions is to create more negative redundant thoughts in you. So they're creating circumstances for you to be in this mode, but how you perceive things and how you react to things and what source of energy you're using will give you the ability to overcome these obstacles. One can see the writing on the wall, such as through pain and death or starvation or even being poor or taking away freedom and peace and war. Learning how to use your resources and focus on what you could do as opposed to what you're unable to do. Others may be trying to negatively condition you, and if you're in the right state of mind, it would have no effect on you once you know the truth. And this is one of the problems that they have, because they can no longer have the invisible collar and using these negatives to control you and making you their slaves. You can choose to challenge your fears and not go into that negative form of retaliation in which they want you to do that, so then they can say, oh, see, this guy's an animal. But you don't be afraid to let people not let you talk or not ask questions, for they will seek to only control you and challenge you and not give you a voice. Sometimes you may even have to force yourself to act in such a way in order to create a better outcome or a better pattern for the future. Not to judge life as unfair or fair. This sort of thinking can be debilitating. Instead, choose good, and if things come out good or bad, and it will happen every day and in every second of your life, because some things you may believe are problems can be an actual blessing. But the way you navigate, the way you understand it, problems, and the way you use problems in order to become better, smarter, stronger will create a better you. You can change any negative into a positive. It is not to say that the negative was a positive, but because of who you are, you was able to change negatives into positives. A negative is the opposite of positives, and that negatives can be used for positive learning lessons other than a debilitating reaction. Therefore, taking the negative and using it to your advantage, that was what was once meant for the bad, you had changed it and used it for the good. Not to go into this fight or flight. Do not attack and do not run, but instead be calm and patient as possible within yourself. For if you control the inner you and will control the